We can't get a straight answer on what episode this is. I think it's 14.
I think it's 17.
17.
Or 18.
Or
17.
25.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's the second season, about midway through. Apparently, no one can count, including myself. And we're back.
No, we are back.
That's all that matters.
Is this a very special episode? Who else is back?
Mom's Deli.
Mom's Deli. That's what I'm going to say. That's what makes it a special episode, because the grand reopening of Mom's Deli just happened. I think they're down on like Hampton, kind of like Southampton.
I don't know where they are, but it's funny you say the grand, because the rivalry is Mom's and La Grand's.
Oh, that's true. Well, you know what? Is it a rivalry if you have two amazing places with great food? Yeah. So you eat on one of them Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and do the other one Thursday and Friday.
We're human beings. Everything's a rivalry.
Well, but you have two great sports teams, and it's still a rivalry.
Yeah, all right, true fact. But I can enjoy them both.
You have certain people who love one.
We are going to eat so many delicious sandwiches, and I'm very hungry. As you know, I never eat before because I got to save my appetite for the show. And then I look over to that little oven you brought in here, and I see those sandwiches lined up side by side. You want
to start hot or cold?
Let me ask you a question about a deli.
Yeah.
Now, there's a deli, and then in other words, the word deli has been greatly expanded to any place where they have
sandwiches.
Sell,
when it was a full delicatessen, it was like a different experience.
And there's different foods.
Do you think they had to slice the meats in order for it to be a delicatessen originally?
I'm sure they all did.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's by definition.
I think
I think it's a very ethnic thing as well. It's a Jewish thing, as far as I know.
You think
the history of deli is Jewish history for sure? And you know what? It kind of bothers me. Well, it is. I mean, but the deli is a dying industry. There's a great documentary, if you've never seen it, called Deli Man, and it's about the dude that runs Ken and Ziggy's out of Houston, which is a great Jewish deli down there. And Sebastian Maniscalco, who I think is hysterically funny, is a great stand-up. But he does this whole bit about how Italian food is great, and Italian food is the best. I'm not going to compare Jewish food to Italian food. But he goes on and on about how the Jews have no food, and I'm sitting there going, deli. What about deli? We have the entire deli industry, and don't tell me we don't have food. And deli's the best lunch food there is.
And what about gefilte fish?
Well, that I can't defend gefilte fish. I won't even try it.
I actually have, in later years, I like it.
Oh, really? You've always liked it.
I like the horseradish. I think that's
I probably buy 4 jars of gefilte fish a year.
A year?
And eat the whole thing.
Wow. Are you going to be having some next week for Rosh Hashanah?
Oh, I'm sure I will.
I wonder, you could make a sandwich, I guess, out of a gefilte patty.
Well, I think what you do is you'll take a bite of the gefilte fish and a bite of some matzah at the same time.
Can you do anything else with it? Can you make a gefilte fish salad?
That's what I was just going to say. I went to this best gefilte chicken place.
Gefilte chicken?
Yeah. No, I've had that question. Can you gefilte any? Gefilte must be a name describing some sort of way to prepare food.
Or there was just some guy named Gefilte.
You think? We looked this up.
Remember Ray Gefilte?
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, we've just accepted that name, but I have no idea.
Seymour Gefilte.
Think, I'll bet it means something about the way it's prepared.
How would we ever figure this out?
Because you take fish.
Yeah, and what are these, white fish? What are they using?
Yeah, I think white fish. I remember my mother used to make, she had this old cast iron grinder, and once a year I remember she'd come out, bring it out wherever she hid it, and she put it on the thing and she just started grinding fish.
She must have been strong. Those cast iron things are heavy.
I've never had anything but the jarred, pre-made gefilte fish. I suspect I might not like the real deal.
Let's get a sandwich in front of us.
Let's get a sandwich. Gefilte is a Yiddish word that means stuffed or stuffed fish.
There it is.
Stuffed fish. So you could stuff any. You could stuff chicken. You could gefilte chicken.
Gefilte fish, though, was basically like hamburger.
Yeah,
you ground it up, and then you shaped it into patties.
And multiple different types of fish.
I think what kept me away from it was that little jelly that it sometimes is served in or with.
It can also be.
What is that jelly?
Water or jelly.
But what is the jelly? It looks like Vaseline.
It could be.
It's like tuna fish is either sometimes in oil or in water.
Yeah, oil or water. I know what oil is and I know what water is, but what jelly?
Little schmaltz.
Who knows? Let's start hot because we have 3 hot ones.
Okay, listen, you're never going to get a complaint from me starting hot.
In a temperature sense or a style sense?
Both. Why not? Why limit it?
Yeah, why not?
But I think we go with a nice
and
warm
if any
sandwich.
of you out there watching have any more questions about the Jewish faith, our culture, please don't
That was the best part of the opening here is we said, what can we talk about to really pare down the audience as quickly as possible
Get 'em out of here.
before we eat anything?
We want to start with those who really want to be here. We're going to start with Reuben.
Oh, well, you can't go wrong there. And which, strangely enough, while you, Reuben, and it sounds like it would be a Jewish sandwich, however, it's not kosher because it has meat and cheese on it, which, of course, would never be kosher.
And remember, a lot of the Jewish stuff is German.
Right, and a lot of Jewish stuff, most Jews do not keep kosher, so
our Eastern
we're
European,
not bothered.
I think they have the greatest food in the world. Not the Jewish food necessarily.
No, but a lot of the German food, those schnitzels.
And it's schnitzel.
Well, some of it's Polish. Like, did you ever eat at Weselka in New York City?
No.
It's like, it was a Polish.
Do they have a good
Jewish
pierogi?
place.
I like a good pierogi, and I was just up in Detroit. And I didn't get to have any up there, but they said that they have a whole Polish town in Detroit.
We give a little shout out. Don't we have a good friend and farmer guy who used to work here who has a pierogi place?
No. Kolache.
Oh, Kolache.
Oh, they're
very
nothing
similar.
alike.
Oh,
I know, but you know what? But I appreciate that in your heart you wanted to help out Tim Howagner
Tim.
and St. Louis Kolache, which he owns the one in Arnold.
I feel like
but don't ask them for a pierogi.
It's a meat pie.
Well, yeah, but I would say
No. No, most pierogies are not even meat. I mean, I like usually potato and cheese, potato and onion.
But they're
I think what you're going with, like, every culture, for instance, ravioli.
Yes.
I would put
wonton
and wonton in the ravioli category.
Right.
I think the kolache is more in the sandwich category.
Kreplach, I would put in that category.
Ravioli category.
Wonton, pierogi. This is a great Reuben. That's really good. That's corned beef Reuben.
You think it was named after some guy named Reuben?
Every time we have a Reuben, I tell you.
Yeah. No, this is an outstanding Reuben. It's a marble
My friend
rye.
Dave Platt,
his father.
his grandfather owned a restaurant called Reubens in New York City.
And he invented it.
And claims that...
Although I think sandwiches, dishes get many claimers.
It does, but let's just talk for a second, though, because I want to ask your opinion. Is that coleslaw on there or sauerkraut?
I would assume sauerkraut.
I would assume that, but taste it. I'm not getting sauerkraut. I'm getting a little coleslaw.
With things like that, invention of a sandwich, there are always multiple claims.
Yeah, that's coleslaw.
I was just talking...
They're probably all legitimate, too.
I met somebody yesterday, and he works where a friend of mine works. And anytime, so my friend Rob, he's from St. Louis, old St. Louis family. And I believe it's his grandmother or great-grandmother or great-aunt, I think, is credited with inventing the cocktail party.
Really?
Yeah. And there are multiple people, there are two people who are credited with it, who claim, but I think she is widely credited with the person who invented the cocktail party right here in St. Louis.
Do you think it had something to do with sex?
No, it probably had to do with mixed drinks because mixed drinks were not really a thing until recent history.
Why would mixed drinks be called cocktail?
But they are called cocktails.
But why?
Look it up.
So
Google.
you're saying it's like
Where does the name come from?
Name, you think it was...
Tail,
no, I get it.
Yeah.
You don't have to say the punchline out loud.
These audience, these people want all the help they can get.
I don't think that's where it came from, but...
We got to look it up.
I can't say I know for sure.
I can think of no connection between the word.
You don't need to say it again. Cocktail, let's see.
Cocktail, I can say. That's nothing. That's everybody says.
We're going to find it out.
Let's see.
You'll have your answer. But I will say this. I know I was hungry. I might have influenced me.
Oh boy, here he goes. He's going to overdo it.
Well, you gave me a pretty big piece. You did give me a pretty big piece. I ate the whole thing, folks. So that was an unbelievably good corned beef Reuben.
Good.
Marble rye.
It's a nice chew.
That was great, and it wasn't
meat.
Everything was neat.
Yeah, I like that.
Nothing fell off of it.
The cocktail predates the cocktail party.
Of course, it has to, right? But why does it get its name? Why do they call it a cocktail?
I don't know. But
that's the Google search. Why do they call it a cocktail?
Is that right? Cup?
Yep.
Egg cup.
Yep.
Okay.
So it must have been like a very small glass, and since that's what was used to make the mixed drinks, they just extended it.
Instead of a big tankard of ale.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd be having a Steintail party.
This is so bizarre. Like, just kind of going back in time and thinking. So, in 1917, Clara Bell Walsh, a St. Louis socialite, credited with pioneering the concept in the United States of the cocktail party, hosting a short afternoon gathering or gatherings centered on cocktails for both men and women. And what's interesting is she hosted this afternoon party at her home, which was novel for the time. And the party received widespread press attention, with newspapers calling it the, quote, newest stunt and helping make St. Louis the cocktail party, or helping make cocktail party a St. Louis institution. Wow. And then there's Alec Wow in England, who conceived of sort of an afternoon party as well. But that was in the 20s, it seems. I think she...
Wonder who coined the phrase happy hour.
Maybe
and that's a great piece of marketing, right?
She had a jump on it.
She did. She had it.
I wonder if she
cocktail hour is nice, but a happy hour.
What else can I use?
I mean,
Died penniless.
That almost seems like something Disney would have come up with, you know? Except, he was very anti-alcohol,
but
at least back then.
People lived 1,000 years ago. Naming things was much easier.
It's just weird that was so newsworthy. Oh, my God.
I would have liked to have lived at the time where I got to name things.
Well, you pick up a rock, you'd say...
Yeah, but I want to... You know what I'd be good at? You know how like they have all these colors of lipstick and nail polish? And it's like they're inventing colors constantly because they have to have a name for it. I think I would have been good at that.
Didn't you come up with the word slider?
Independent invention.
I don't think so. Did I?
What did you...
Yeah,
Wait,
but
I think I claimed I enjoy eating a slider. That's a different claim.
You know what? He's trying to give you... Yeah, I remember.
I don't want to...
I remember when he was there and he said, this thing could slide right down your throat.
Right down my throat.
We should call it a slider.
They're so small you could slide them right down the bar, slide them right down your throat. Kind of makes sense. Which sandwich is this?
This is a cold sandwich, our one cold sandwich. It is the mom's special.
Right. Now, that's one of our rules here at Three Lawyers Eating Sandwiches. If the restaurant has a sandwich that they name after themselves, we assume that to be a sandwich they're quite proud of because it bears their name.
And we are petitioning to get it named the 11th Commandment.
That's it?
That's it. If you have to. You know what also? Have you ever come up with a word? I have.
We've had this discussion many times.
And what word did you come up with?
I'm going to say
this is like an Amaghetti's type sandwich. Mm-hmm. Similar. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, please don't say you were going frags again.
How did you know?
We were talking about inventing words.
Did you invent another word, though?
Do you know what restaurant is really like the frag capital?
Five Guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They leave a lot of...
They don't leave them. They do it on purpose.
Maybe for the audience, you could tell them what a frag is.
A frag are the French fries that wind up in the bag. They're like your bonus fries.
But Five Guys
decided to make it a real thing. So when you order, everything always comes in a paper bag. And the last thing they do is take an extra scoop and just throw it in the bag.
Oh, you think they do it on purpose?
No, I don't think it.
No,
I watch them do it every single time they serve me food.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's their signal.
That's like they're known for it. Speaking of...
Wait. You seem like the kind of guy that would love Five Guys. You don't go to a Five Guys?
I do, but there's so much to eat. I'm trying not to eat.
Well, you go for a burger. Like if your goal is I want if I want to go out and I want to get a really great burger.
Yeah, that's the difference in you and me.
If you would do that.
That's the difference in you and me.
What's that?
He likes all of them.
But you have to admit that well, a couple things.
We got
this bib just saved
Big tomato right there.
Yeah.
Notice the new bib, folks. I finally did it. I've been talking about it for 2 seasons. Beautiful bib, very stylish.
Yeah.
Machine washable.
Stylish, I don't know.
We're gonna open it up to people to decorate it. We're gonna make it look real pretty for them.
I think he's doing a good job decorating it himself.
Yes, that's true.
So, but okay. Burgers are great. And I get what you're saying, that you don't think there's, they're all good, but that doesn't mean that some of them aren't better than others. And I think even you would acknowledge that some burgers are better than others.
I wouldn't drive a long way. In other words, the difference.
I'm not talking about driving to Philadelphia. Where would you go? You want a burger? Somebody says, "Hey, Dad. Hey, Tare. Hey, friend. Hey, neighbor.
Hey, Ed.
Take me out for a burger." I'm from out of town. I really love burgers. Yeah. Take me to the best burger you can find.
You know my answer. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth because your choice. But
we're doing now. I'll just move my mouth. Go ahead.
I mean,
where?
For me, it's Max Local Eats. Max is the best burgers in St. Louis.
They have a great burger.
We've had them twice on the show.
But on the yeah, you've had Max. But I'll say this about Max. Max is a great burger. But I think that there are other great burgers that are similar but have a little different flavor, and it's not that they're better or worse, but just different.
Where haven't I gone that you think I would love their burger?
I'll tell you where. But this is a little bit of a pain.
That's all right.
You know me, I like at a steak restaurant to get the burger there.
Right, because they're using the best cuts of meat.
Yeah, exactly. At Chris's on Lindbergh, I think they have a really great burger. Now, it's sort of a fancy place that you're not necessarily.
I've never had a burger there.
Well, you know what? Why don't we all three go out and get a burger there sometime?
Let's do that. Why don't we do our next, when we do the small group attorney dinner, instead of going, we did Capitol Grill last week with some of our attorneys, or earlier this week, I guess it was. Well, this one is more like Cress.
Have you never been there?
I have. One time I've been there. It was very, very good. It's not too far from where I live, so it's okay.
They're known for their prime rib. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They serve like these massive chunks of prime rib, and it's great. But I like to get a burger there. I think it's delicious. But if you're really just on a casual,
they have American cheese.
Yeah,
I like American cheese on a burger.
But Max,
I don't like cheddar. I like American.
You know where I think is an underappreciated burger a little bit, or maybe was by me? High Point.
High Point's a great burger.
I don't think they get enough credit for how good their burger is.
Or do you think that maybe they grew too fast?
Maybe.
It's possible because when they were more boutique-y, a lot of people, when they're asked their favorite, they tend to shy away from a chain and tell you. But they're still highest quality. I mean, every location serves it up great.
When they were early on, I think people thought of them as a great burger, and then they just, got too big, and people like, oh, it's too big, but
it's still the same exact burger. It's a great burger.
It's a really great burger.
We don't think
they're very successful, and so they're opening more locations. This is what we want for businesses, right? Well, that's a good question.
No, not necessarily.
But have you been to?
If it dilutes
what
quality,
am I doing?
No.
You go to Carl's Drive-In.
Yeah, but that's more for a classic burger. That's an experience burger. That's not just the burger, right?
But so is High Point.
No, I know.
So is Max.
Max is a smash burger.
Do you like smash burgers as good as big, thick burgers?
Well, I think we've talked about this.
I prefer smash
I think a smash burger can be great, but I think it's lazy.
How about a little love for Chili Max downtown? It's been there forever. Same people working there my whole life.
Well, it used to be, O.T. Hodges Chili Factory. So the smash burger, I think, is lazy. Now, there are some people who make a great smash burger, and that's fantastic. But then there are some people who just maybe don't know how to make a good regular thick burger, and they phone it in. They make a smash burger because there's a limit to how bad a smash burger can be.
Right.
You can't really overcook it like you can a real burger, and so they make it. It's probably cheaper. It's quicker.
It cooks faster.
Easier. And so it is taken away from a lot of places attempting to even make a good burger. O'Connell's has a great burger.
It's too dark.
Stacked does good traditional burgers. Thick traditional burgers.
Chris's.
Where?
Stacked. We did an episode there.
Yeah. Stacked?
That was the place where you kept calling guacamole.
Oh, that was...
I love him.
Yeah. Well, he is your son. It would help
but you know what this? His joy is infectious.
It's the laugh track you want.
Yeah. What do you got as another sandwich?
He's a good laugher. You need a good laugh.
While I'm getting this, why don't you tell Ed about your new purchase?
Oh,
yeah, you got a new couch.
I got a new couch.
He seldom gets anything new, it's always exciting.
They delivered it? Where'd you get it? Where does a man like Terry Crouppen buy a couch?
He can't disclose that.
Ashley Furniture?
What's name? West...
Where I get my
West Elm?
West Elm?
Is that it?
Wait, that's online.
Andy,
you bought a couch online?
A Goodwill.
No. Where
West Elm.
That's online.
The nice
But they have
people.
stores.
No,
Oh,
there's
do they?
a store in the Galleria.
There is?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been to the gallery
Beautiful
in a while.
couch. Beautiful new couch. I haven't seen it in person, but I almost went over there the other day.
Yeah.
I get knocks on the door all hours.
Yeah.
Mr. Crouppen, we just see the couch.
And how is it? What color did you go
No,
with?
don't be sitting on it.
What color is it? I can't remember. Is it sort of a bluish gray?
Light bluish gray.
Oh, that's going to be messed up in no time.
No.
He promised me it wouldn't.
I have a very similar couch. These, and it's probably not healthy, but whatever they treat these fabrics with, we have white couches in our house that we've had for 10 years, and they don't look like they did on day one, but they're not like... Yeah, they really have done something. They put something on them that keeps them pretty cleanable.
I had a white couch, and I had a thigh pain, and I had a Theragun.
Is there any oozing involved in the story? Because I'm about to eat.
No.
I didn't feel this was heading toward oozing.
I felt it really ached, and so I got the Theragun. And so what I did was I would sit like on the Theragun and let it, massage my leg. And so it turned out one day we're just, and we see there's a big dark mark on the cushion.
Yeah.
And we couldn't figure out. And then we see a few days later, there's another black mark on another cushion. What it turns is
oozing?
The end of the Theragun, the plastic, is painted black, and I guess with repeated...
It was rubbing off.
It was rubbing.
You were getting rub off.
You know what? That's what happens when you buy a bootleg Theragun.
It probably wasn't the... It says you get that on the TikTok shop.
Did you ever see it?
Yeah.
What sandwich
It
was
was
this?
not Theragun branded.
Tell me what this is.
I don't know. It's got some like cream cheese and some...
Is that cream cheese?
Some roast beef?
Yeah, it's a
do you
beef
call
sandwich.
And a pickle?
I thought Theragun was more a generic name.
No, it's a brand like Kleenex.
But what would you, if you didn't want to call it the brand, what would you call it?
No, it's a what do they call
massage.
it? Percussive therapy, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know.
Okay. Well, this is good. What is it, just like a pickle, a beef? Some type of cream cheese.
It's very good. I don't know. What do they call this?
Roast beef needs a little salty taste. I like a little more salty.
The who?
I haven't been on Arby's in years.
Not unless they gave
I don't
us...
think there's any...
Yeah. Beef and Philly?
It doesn't seem like a Philly.
Well, they replaced the cheese with... Well, no, it's not a Philly. It's a St. Louis-y. You want to go controversy or do you want to go medical? Where do you want to take this?
Controversy creates cash, Andy, so I'm going to go because I feel like we go down M, it's going to be a more weirder.
He's right. Controversy creates cash.
So I want to ask first that we stay away from politics and really look at it more from the legality of it. And there's some politics involved.
Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah. Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel, and I watched the clip, but
me too.
After
I didn't see the clip. What did they say?
Well, I'll have you watch it, and maybe you'll watch it. Maybe we should just pause for a second and watch it. It's only about 60 seconds. Now, I didn't watch the before and after, so it's possible what's being posted is not the complete thing. But it is...
You would think the worst thing he did was posted them.
So it's about the Charlie Kirk assassination, which I got a text like very shortly after it happened. Because, Twitter is instantaneous news. And people were posting videos online. And I will start by saying this. With the way AI is, I know they have the ability to keep that kind of stuff off. And they choose not to. Because... they posted very graphic videos and zoomed in close-ups of him being shot. And I saw it, and I'm not going to say it like, I don't know, I feel like I've seen enough of that stuff unintentionally, but I'm desensitized to it. It didn't really bother me that much for whatever reason. Like the fact that somebody died bothered me, but the graphic nature of it didn't. And that's terrible that we are so desensitized.
You know what? I didn't have that experience when I saw it. I really thought I was going to be desensitized. I thought, you know what, everyone's talking about, all the kids are going to see this by accident. I'm like, you see people, you watch a John Wick movie, watch a nobody.
But it's not real.
And that's the thing is that somehow in our psychology, in our makeup, it's like we knew that there was a difference because, like, I found that image horrific. It haunted me. For days later, terrible. I kept picturing it, and I thought, wow, I really would have thought. I'm 54. I've seen a million movies, TV shows. I've seen a lot of violence. You just would assume it wouldn't hit you like that. But seeing something that you knew was real like that, I mean, to me, it made me sick to my stomach.
It was horrible. And anyone who watched it and saw the close-up, this guy was dead on impact.
No, there was no question. There was no way to save that.
In 1 second, he lost more blood than any human in history has ever.
He lost. It was clearly a fatal shot.
In fact, it was so much that I kind of assumed that it was AI. I didn't think it was possible. Now, I'm no doctor. It was really terrible. I don't agree with his views, but that doesn't mean that he should die. And the terrible thing is that, really, if you think about what he was about, it was about free speech. I mean, that was how he approached politics. That's how he gathered such a massive following. Free speech was really a cornerstone of his whole platform.
Right, because but for, he wouldn't have had a platform.
That's right.
Like, that was his whole thing.
And so for people to be kind of invoking his name to curb free speech is really disturbing. And so for those who don't know, Jimmy Kimmel said something about it, and really,
he didn't mock
even that bad.
The assassination at all.
I haven't.
No, what the main thrust of what he did.
Let me see.
You've seen the clip actually, because what I think got him in trouble with Trump, at least, was that. He showed that little video where a couple of days after it happened, a reporter asked Donald Trump, hey, how are you holding up, after the loss?
Immediately changed
and he says, I think I'm doing pretty good. And more importantly, over here, we're building this ballroom. Now, in all honesty, I'm where I stand on things, but as watching that clip, I really thought that maybe Trump didn't hear the guy very well. There was such loud construction noise in the background. And I've noticed on a lot of those interviews of Trump, when there's a lot of noise in the background, his answers don't ever seem really that responsive to what's being asked. And I think he's just kind of covering. And that was just an unfortunate juxtaposition, I think. But be that as it may, it doesn't excuse that they had no business legally in stifling Kimmel's voice.
I mean, here, let's see. I think I found it, and I'll let you look at it very quickly. Let's pause.
It is unseasonably sweltering here in Los Angeles. It's hot, right?
No, that's not it.
I'll tell you one thing about it is it shows. Well, let me see.
This is it.
It's anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this. Charlie Kirk, I asked sir personally, how are you holding up for the last day and a half, sir? I think very good. And by the way, right there, you
I saw that.
just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House. It's something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty. Yes. It's at the fourth stage of grief, construction.
Which is a great line, by the way.
It is a great line.
I mean, the rule always used to be, if it's funny, you can say whatever you want.
Somebody called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns the goldfish. The new lows over the weekend.
So he didn't say anything inappropriate.
He wasn't. A lot of people have really
he didn't say it every.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people have been and he's a comedian. So it's really disturbing because apparently it sounds like there are a few things at play. The FCC chairman apparently, I think there is a merger. ABC is trying to merge, or the parent company,
the distributor,
and they need a little bit of a rule change from the FCC.
It's a bunch of stations, independent stations.
Right. Well,
they can't.
Independent.
You're not supposed to be able to control more than a certain percent.
Right.
And the company's now trying to buy more.
But some of the local stations, like there's one that owns a ton of them, and it's a very conservative company, and they're saying no. our people complain, no, it's that nobody wanted to watch it. And who knows? I think that's a little quick for any station to immediately know that their viewership is revolting and saying pull Kimmel or we'll stop watching. But that's sort of the other side of the argument, is that no, this isn't a violation of free speech by the government. It's a consequence of his free speech by the people. Who knows what the truth is?
It's not.
I don't think that's right.
Listen, this is the people like to throw around First Amendment rights. The only people that can actually violate your First Amendment rights are the government. I mean, what it actually says is the government cannot encroach on it. If the FCC has gotten involved in any way whatsoever in having this guy taken off the air, that is, in my lifetime, the most clear-cut example I've ever seen of really watching the government literally stifle free speech, and not of an individual, because when you're speaking to the entire country like Kimmel does on his platform, you're quieting a very, very big voice. And my God, how anybody on either side would tolerate that. Be careful, folks out there, no matter who's being canceled, which I think, by the way, that's hysterical, because I've never seen the amount of canceling that's gone on in these last couple of months. And you would have thought that wouldn't have been the case, considering all the rhetoric we've heard for years.
We're not going to get political. We're going to stay constitutional.
That said, yes, constitutionally, this to me was a clear violation that everybody should be scared about. Guys, do you think people remember that we're not just guys eating sandwiches, but we're actually a law firm that handles injury cases?
You think the podcast has gotten so big, they forgot about our roots?
Have they forgotten about this man, 45 years on the television, telling people that we don't get paid unless you get paid? Do you think they know that?
Tell them.
We don't get paid if you don't get paid.
There you go. You've been hurt? Call us. Now back to the podcast, because today it's Kimmel, and maybe you like him and maybe you don't. But once you set a precedent says something's fine, you have no idea who the next voice silenced is going to be.
That's right. And the worst thing is, he didn't really say anything.
He didn't.
That controversial. It's not like...
And Trump celebrated it, too, which, to me, I got to tell you, well, listen, the guy's not afraid of anything, and he should be.
No, it's scary. Like, that part is scary, and that should... And just to give you an example, I don't think this is a liberal or conservative thing. You know, Tucker Carlson, who's one of the most conservative people out there, is terrified by this, outraged by this.
He should be.
This is the type of thing that everybody should be revolting against and saying, hey, this isn't okay. This is bad. This is scary.
It's so will easily be abused by whoever has power.
That's right.
You can't give that much power to anybody, any entity, any side. You can't do it. The system will not succeed.
Well, I think both sides always need to be conscious of, hey, if you do this, you're going to have it done to you most likely too. And so that you would think.
But don't you think it's odd? How do people at one side of their mouth say there's no place for political violence? And of course, we all agree with that. But they keep saying, but the right place is through conversation, through debate, through talk. And then the very next thing they do is they take everybody who's talking and find a way to shut them up. Yeah. I'm like, which is it? Because if you don't give people a platform to talk, then you're really left with no choice but violence. Now, what happened here to Charlie was terrible, because there were platforms to talk, and plenty of them. We have more platforms to talk now than we've ever had.
Too many.
But unfortunately, the restrictions are coming, and they're coming fast. I mean, we're already getting heavily censored on TikTok and on Twitter. I mean, the fact that everybody knows the expression that you have to say if somebody was unalived. What the is going on here?
I don't even know if this will be allowed.
But I mean, seriously, what the bleep?
Yeah,
you know,
crazy.
You can't say the word somebody died, somebody was killed, somebody's dead. It's ridiculous. These are actual words in the English language. But see, the problem is, once we start allowing other entities to control our speech, which we have, every time you use the word unalive, which is a word, it's not real, you've never used it in your life, and you're using it now because an entity changed your language. That's not appropriate. It shouldn't happen. It's censorship.
Where did unalive come from?
The algorithms.
Yeah, I don't know if it started
by Twitter or TikTok.
TikTok,
so
I think.
What will it do if you try to type
it? Will not promote your video. It won't show it to anybody. It'll kill it.
It may take the video down.
Yeah, it'll kill it.
Unalive it. It'll unalive it.
See, I mean, listen. That's just the silliest freaking thing in the world.
It really is. Did you see the text messages? This is actually, I think the Charlie Kirk thing is going to get very interesting, because did you see the
Oh, I'm going to make you a bold prediction that the guy's going to get acquitted.
You know what? That's sort of where I'm going. So, did you see the text messages that were released supposedly between him and his roommate?
Yes, I saw those.
They are, maybe they're real, but they are so hard to believe that they are real. If they are real, he was the most peculiar 22-year-old on the face of the planet, speaking in ways that not a single other 22. Did you see these?
Yeah,
and like everybody on the right and left, Candace what's her name? Candace Owens? Yeah. Is she's like saying the federal government this is a conspiracy. Like, there are a lot of
listen, you know what?
It's going to get very interesting.
I don't like conspiracy theorists in general, because I think people ignore the obvious. Because of course, I completely believe that this kid committed the murder. That said, all of these people that are out there, and they want to see a conviction, they want to see justice, but the second they suggest any kind of conspiracy theory or a piece of evidence that doesn't look right, my first question to them is, so you actually think they should let this guy go and acquit him? And they go, oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm like, no. You absolutely are saying that, because for him to be convicted, he's going to have to be convicted beyond a reasonable doubt. And every single one of those little conspiracy theories that you're taking a delight in sharing, that you're raising, you are doing the defense's job for them. So the right wing, as much as they are upset about this, and basic human decency should be upset about this, but everybody that puts that out is just making it more likely that this guy will walk free.
Also, putting that exchange out there in the public
what was the nature? I didn't see
it was
basically just some sophisticated turns of phrase that you think, well, that's not how a 22-year-old speaks.
Well, every detail, they basically took every detail that they would need to prove in the trial and worked it into the text messages.
In a very short exchange, too. It's like, my God, he's got the gun and the location and the...
But from a legal standpoint, how inappropriate and definitely prejudicial to release that kind of stuff to the public.
How hard is it?
Yeah, very
hard is
stupid.
It for
totally
somebody
inappropriate
to fake in other words,
text messages?
Yes.
Very, very easy.
I can do it right now in 10 minutes.
But wait a minute. These weren't even screenshots. This was just a transcript. So from that, you just need a typewriter and some fingers.
But in other words, today, do we live in a society where anybody... where millions of people have the technology to put something that would
I can save him in my phone as Terry Crouppen and me as myself. We can have an exchange. It will have your face on there, your name on it. It will look like it was between the two of us. It never involved you. If you just take screenshots and put it out, people will believe it. Now, if you do the forensic on it, then you would see the IP address and you would know it actually came from his phone.
AT&T.
Yeah, exactly.
So in other words, nobody could put
you couldn't falsify for court.
No, I wouldn't say no way.
Nothing in this world needs irrefutable proof.
Wait, I don't know.
We only need a moron suggestion in the toilet, and everyone will believe it.
I don't know that there isn't technology. Somebody very sophisticated could not do that. Spoof an IP address. Is that possible? I don't know.
Listen,
maybe
you got to assume, of course, that is. But the point is
unlikely
to sway public opinion. You don't need anything other than somebody saying it.
Yeah,
that holds tremendous amount of weight until you say to them. Yeah. So you would let him go right now. You would acquit. Everything you're telling me.
I don't know that
you'd have no choice but to acquit. You have doubt.
That I believe with 100%
So that's my point.
That it was,
so you have doubt.
How are they going to get a jury that would have the nerve to acquit no matter what the evidence?
No, you know what? All you got to do is because you're going to get a few people on there that if you rile them up on the idea that I know they're hungry for a conviction and they want to put this whole story to bed, but you know that there was more to what happened here than what you were told. You know, and the thing is, all you need is one person on there to think, you know what? I don't want to be a part of a cover-up if the real killer is still out there. You just need one.
But also, I think any sense would have the nerve or want to mess up their life completely by voting to acquit.
Well, I don't know how.
Or hanging the jury, because the name would be released.
Yeah, but I think...
Are you kidding? A guy who got this guy acquitted, the lawyer and the guy would have targets on him for the rest of their lives.
I don't know, because I think there is enough of a groundswell of a conspiracy that a lot of people don't think
they have another suspect. Everyone's been spreading around footage of some other guy who had asked a question and engaged in debate with Charlie.
Yeah, there are 10 other people are accusing.
But who looked a little bit more like those FBI photos that were released than they think that this Tyler Robinson looked like. And on that alone, they're saying, we think it's that guy.
And there's some very convincing videos that it came from a different direction.
Yeah, but remember, when I did criminal law, it was always amazing that in a complex series of events, always there was something that didn't make sense. That for some reason it just didn't make sense.
Of course.
And you farmed defenses for almost anything.
But here's the problem.
I think there's one more sandwich.
But there is. But the problem is when you were doing that, you were talking to a group of people, A, at a time where conspiracy theories were not mainstream.
That's true.
And B, you weren't talking to them about events that were very public, that everybody saw the video of, that everyone weighed in with an opinion on.
No, that's true.
I think this is very Luigi Mangione. Because I think Luigi Mangione, I don't know if he's going to walk, but I think there may well be a mistrial. There may well be a second mistrial. And I think he's going to take a very, very light plea deal.
And I have this thinking about, how they talk about the reptile brain. It's the part of your brain that reacts instinctually to everything around you to feel safe in the world. So it's constantly looking around for perceived harm. And it's doing whatever it can to make you feel safer. I think that what happens when something like this happens, I think people want to believe there had to be more to it. It couldn't have been this easy. Because it makes all of us feel unsafe.
Yeah,
the idea that you could be vibrant and going through your life, and that one nothing of a guy, and it's always some young disillusioned guy in his 20s, because that's the age and that's the makeup that does this. That's the history of our country. It's always that. Yeah. And we don't want to feel that vulnerable. Yeah. We don't want to feel that somebody that was alive and vibrant could be taken out by one young guy in one shot. We want to believe it was more complicated.
Don't you always also think that we grow up in a culture where everything is a movie script, and the most likely thing is never the right thing. Right. It's an anti-Occam's razor culture.
Because we're accustomed to plots.
And we want our lives to be more colorful. We want our lives to be more interesting. The one thing about conspiracy theories, they're interesting.
Did you see?
It puts color in life.
There was, and I'm surprised that
I got to lean over for this one. Meatballs, baby, meatballs.
More air.
Hey, I don't have to even
remember that you got to speak into a microphone if you want to be heard. There is a clip going around, and maybe it was fake, but I don't think so. But I'm surprised it hasn't made more rounds of the alleged killer talking to Charlie Kirk at one of his events on a microphone, and they have a very sort of tense and awkward exchange where Charlie
every exchange.
No, it was, but like it was with the killer, and it was just sort of haunting that you could kind of see, knowing how it ended, where he was coming from. This guy left there probably embarrassed, hating this guy, and was like,
but that's not this guy. Not Tyler. That's another guy that they think is the guy in the picture.
No. There's one that they say is Tyler.
There's no. They say it, but it's not him. I mean, you could look at it and tell it's not the same guy.
And remember, everybody he talked to had that experience. He was a very tenacious debater who could be very flippant and dismissive of the people he was debating.
He was very good at what he did, and I think what he did, and it was smart. It was sort of almost I don't know if you call it a trick, but he probably had 100 subjects that he knew top to bottom.
Exactly.
And then what he would do is when somebody would ask him, but he would reframe sort of the question in a way in his response, not to change it, but that would kind of really push you towards asking the next question. question that he was ready to answer. Right. Mm-hmm. And then the next, and he took you down that path.
That's what a great debater does. He was a great debater.
He was very smart. He was a great debater. I think there's 100% chance he would have been a presidential candidate, and I think there's a reasonably good chance he would have been president. He was a good-looking guy. He was 6'5".
He was still very young. He was already wielding tremendous influence at 31. I have no doubt. You put him at, in his mid-40s after having gained that amount of followers and whatever. Maybe. I mean,
that's kind of scary too.
Well, he was. I mean, I think people don't appreciate people who don't follow this stuff closely. I think you can make the argument that second to Donald Trump, he maybe was the second most popular figure on the right.
Yeah, I mean,
he was a very powerful guy.
Oh yeah, there's no question.
But you said something before that I meant to comment on. Everybody isn't in favor of the First Amendment.
Well, then those people are traitors.
Of course
That's the
are.
bedrock of our country.
These people, a lot of people in the United States do not want to have free. They want free speech for themselves, but they don't want free speech for any dissenting opinion.
Well, that's everything. It's like the Second Amendment.
It is.
They want it, but there are a lot of people they don't want to have guns on them
of course,
at all
I'm
times
just saying,
as well.
There are very few. The real people that really are like the Skokie. The organization that the civil rights,
the Ku Klux Klan march,
the ACLU.
I got it. What do I win?
The ACLU.
Isn't Skokie where that famous case with the Ku Klux Klan was?
And it involved the ACLU. And the ACLU, frankly, from my experience, I've seen them come down on a lot of totally way I wouldn't have come down. Right. I mean, they are truly purists.
They're consistent
when it comes to the First Amendment. And I think, frankly, as a group, they're probably the only group in America that truly believes in what the First Amendment's all about. Yeah. I think if you really looked into it, most people have no interest in hearing what other people think.
Because they don't understand.
And they want them to shut up. What we see now, they want to shut people up. They do not want people to have free speech.
Because they don't understand the First Amendment.
No.
They just, it's, you know what it's like?
Some don't. But a whole lot of them know just what it is, and they don't want any of it.
But so much of it is like knee-jerk or almost to fit in with your peers. It's like there are these tests online that you can answer 30 questions, and it will tell you where you fall on the political spectrum. And I've done this, years ago, many years ago, with people who swore to be one side or the other. And shocked once they answered sort of questions about how they think society should be and things should be. Liberals finding out they're conservative, conservatives finding out they're liberal. Most people don't know anything about politics, and I'm not even sure there's anything to know about politics. I think politics, in terms of to the general public, is largely a shell game. It's basically powerful people trying to make money and stay in power and trick the masses into hating each other.
It is a business.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's competition. It's survival of the fittest. Yeah, it's that kind of stuff.
Speaking of business, this meatball is
it is good meatball.
Yeah,
that's legit.
Are we done now?
I think that's all the sandwiches. Let me say this. I want to talk.
Have a little piece.
I want to talk in reflection.
Of which one?
About the sandwiches.
Hold on. Jared's asking for seconds.
No,
I thought all four sandwiches were very good.
Yeah, no,
if I had to rank them. I think I go Reuben. I thought their Reuben was excellent. I really, to me, it checked all the boxes that I look for in a Reuben. I would put that number 1. Number 2, I would go the meatball. Number 3, I would do the cold sandwich. I thought it was an outstanding sandwich, and it only falls to 3 because it was cold, but it was delicious. And then at the bottom, I would put whatever that beef with the cream cheese was.
I'm the same, except I'm going to flip-flop the Reuben and the meatball.
Okay. All right. Well, wow.
But a good outing.
Yeah, but I'm surprised that the meatball was great, but I'm surprised. I really thought that Reuben delicious corn, so lean. There was not one.
It was great.
Not one bit of fat on that corned beef. It was
great.
Lean and delicious.
In fact, I'm going to take another bite now.
Yeah, maybe you'll change your vote. No, that's all right. There's nothing wrong with loving the meatball.
It was good.
Terry, where did you land?
I like the roast beef.
He landed off mic.
Really? So our number 4 was his number 1.
Wait,
it just
the
shows
roast
you.
beef with the cream cheese?
You see that? Different strokes for different folks. That's what makes the world go round.
It was a
Do
good
you
sandwich.
see? That's our strength. That's our strength.
I would love to see some real testing, though. I bet
of
you.
What? Of you staying on the mic?
No,
the meatball?
I just think, going back to the topic, I think sadly, a lot of people, their concept of what they'd like America to be is very different than,
Well, but
than
they
what
don't.
the Constitution prescribes.
Yeah.
I think
then they should leave the country.
But a lot
It's
of it
not
is
for them.
education. The educational system, the school system in this country is failing the country miserably. And if you think about it, there's been no major change in how schools are run really since computers started, since the world changed. Like most of what or were taught, it was important to have this base of knowledge because it wasn't easy to seek it out elsewhere. Now, Google what kind of cloud it is and what kind of dinosaur it is, and teach them something, and teach them how to use AI, or teach them, my theory on school. Teach them how to be good humans. Teach them an instrument. Teach them a language, and teach them life skills. That's it.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question.
Education.
Would you be in favor of a law that made it criminal? And I'm not saying necessarily huge criminal penalties, depends on how severe it is, for spreading false information on the internet.
So I don't know if I would be in favor of a law with criminal. I don't know exactly, because really what you're asking is... I'm
asking people to verify the information.
Should we stop this?
But the First Amendment...
Hold on, let me finish.
Wait a second.
Should we stop
It's not
this?
a First
And the
Amendment
answer
issue.
is yes. We absolutely should stop it. There should be limits on how information is presented, because it is destroying people's brains. It's destroying people's thought process. It's destroying the country and the world. And yes, I think there is a responsibility. Now, what the criminal part is, you're asking, how do we enforce? How do we, give it teeth? I don't know how you give it teeth. Maybe it's just like they're trying to do with Jimmy Kimmel. Maybe a station loses its license, or a website, whatever. I don't know how you do it. But yes, there need to be some laws to create some order in this country. The problem is who gets to decide?
Exactly.
You get into the thought police. But I do think that...
No, but I'm only talking about things that are provably false.
But wait,
Is anything provably...
First Amendment. The First Amendment does not guarantee the right to say anything you want as long as it's true. It gives you the right to say anything you want. It doesn't have to be true.
That's right.
No, that's not true, because we know... No, it's not, Terry, because we know that defamation is not allowed because it's false and it's harmful. And so we don't allow defamation.
You're talking about just a few exceptions.
We have some exceptions to that, but generally, for you to get on a platform and say something that is false.
Oh, I don't even think you need to know it's false. I think you just need to say it, and it happens to be false.
So let me give it to you. Let me say it like this.
You would really be dramatically curtailing the First Amendment.
I don't think I would be. I would be curtailing all of the... No, because if the stuff is false, if it's false information, and it's being presented as truthful information, that's a form of defamation. That's harmful words that are coming from
but it has to be about
false
a person.
It's not of that.
Well, who says who?
Well, because that's what defamation is.
No, but you could defame anything. I could defame an organization. I could defame a company.
But now we're talking about the Black's Law definition versus the Webster's definition.
No.
Yeah, because defamation is
listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I don't think you should. But
that's what I'm asking.
You are limiting a great deal of protected speech. But there's nothing in the First Amendment that says anything.
Here's how I think
the speech can only be speech that's accurate as far as you believe.
Let me say this.
Here's how I think you can do it.
Let me ask you this. I'll just give you an example. So based on what you're saying, Terry, and based on what you're saying, that has to be against an individual. Person goes online and they deliver a very compelling story about a horrible thing that happened to them at a McDonald's, that they were taken into the bathroom and that were molested terribly, and this happened, and McDonald's knew about it and they let it happen, and in fact the general manager was in on it and had all of his employees line up and participate. very damaging, not to an individual, but
the general manager and the employees.
But to the company. It's now because nobody's going to care in Nebraska about the general manager, but they're going to say, wait, we have a McDonald's here. McDonald's is letting that go on. I'm not going to go to the McDonald's here.
That's right.
Like in your world, you're fine with that because you say it's protected as free speech.
No.
In your world, you're fine with it because it's not against an individual.
Well, here's what
in my world, that should not be allowed.
There is defamation, and that can be proved. But let's say somebody gets on and says, you know what? I'm wearing a blue hat. I'm going to jail in your thing.
Yeah, I would. Because you're a liar. Because you're an effing liar.
No.
Go to jail.
But what about having laws?
You should go to jail.
If you are a disagreement.
Because the thing is that is what's damaging the world as we live in it right now. And we are very damaged because people do not know what is true and what is false.
Looking at this, hold on.
And that allows that to foster.
It may be time at some point.
Can I say something?
Say we have to.
So you are actually. We're back to the Kimmel argument, because what you're doing is you're kind of saying you want to enforce what you think is right and wrong.
No,
and
true or
it's
not true, and it's not what I think.
But
either
here's what I
something's
think
true
you could
or it's
do.
not.
If you are a conservative, what you believe of MSNBC, if you are a liberal, what you believe of Fox News, that there is genuinely I would call it a conspiracy to create a narrative that isn't necessarily accurate for the purpose of furthering an agenda. So if you're an individual, I think what should happen is there should be a responsibility of the platforms to curb harmful, because what it is when it comes to free speech, there are things like you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. And I think what you could do is you could say that some of the things being said by individuals are akin to yelling fire in a crowded theater because they're fomenting violence in the country.
Exactly.
And so I think that's how you could legitimately control it, protect and honor the First Amendment. Or I think if there are genuine conspiracies in the media or on a social media platform where the algorithm is being manipulated to further an agenda by an individual, by a company, by a country, I think those types of things absolutely should be policed, and I think it can absolutely be done with the First Amendment cleanly protected.
Yeah, I hope you're right. And I think that somebody's going to have to come up with some system, because I can tell you this, no country can succeed or work if the citizens of that country do not know what is real and what is not real, what is true and what is not true. They have no trusted source of information. If we don't have that as a starting point,
that's right.
How do we ever get through any of this as a collective?
We have to, and I think there are some sacrifices, some like the the Constitution. The expression they tell you in law school is, in a public school, you check your constitutional rights at the door to some extent. And I think there are limits on the Constitution that we place under certain circumstances for the greater good. Now, you're going to be very careful about that, but I think that going back to the public schools have not adapted to a modern society. And I think in some ways the laws have not adapted to a modern society
of course,
evidenced by what's happening. Now, are we ready to move on to some medical topics?
Yeah, but I want to ask you about this, because you talk about appropriate limitations. Even your Second Amendment, and you have your staunch believers in the Second Amendment, no one's going to abridge. Now, the Second Amendment doesn't say that you have to be 18 to own a weapon, or 21. Second Amendment doesn't say if you're a felon, you don't get to have a gun anymore. Second Amendment doesn't say if you're not mentally stable, you don't get to have a gun. Second Amendment says everybody. It shall not be abridged, period. And yet, we do have... We abridge. We say, you know what, for a rifle, 14, for a handgun, 18, or 21 for certain weapons. For these weapons, we say no on these, and these are okay. Right. We don't let people own grenades or tanks. We'll let them have the guns. We won't let them have, the automatics. We'll let them have semi. So the point is like, every one of those things... It's not in the Second Amendment. Those are all adjustments we've made, and quite frankly, and that even the gun lobby, they live with those. They don't. You never hear them arguing, we want to get guns in the hands back to our felons. we want to get hands on the guns of 10-year-olds. Like, they don't make those arguments. They've accepted that there are some limitations. Yeah. The real argument isn't about the Second Amendment. It's really just about where you draw the line with the limitations you're comfortable with.
That's right. And
we've all accepted limitations.
But the Constitution, it's not possible.
Oh, my God.
As you are aware, when the Constitution was written, the types of guns that exist today didn't even exist then.
Right.
It isn't possible for the Constitution to govern that because they just didn't exist.
Yeah, but my point is that we listen. We have limitations on all of these rights. Even, look, the Seventh Amendment, that's ours as civil lawyers, as injury lawyers. The Seventh Amendment says for all civil controversies greater than $20, you have the right to have your matter decided by a jury. Okay? And that means that in the civil world, if I go in front of a jury and I'm able to convince my peers that this claim is worth $10 million or $20 million, and the jury agrees, that's the amount that our client should get. And yet, almost every state has laws in there where they've put caps on how much can be given, caps on economic, caps on non-economic, caps on punitive. Well, how do you allow caps? If the Constitution says that a jury gets to decide the matter, then why do we take that away from a jury and say, well, they can decide it up to a certain point? That's my point.
I know.
You can't find one amendment in the Constitution that hasn't been severely limited by subsequent legislation. It just has.
What's also interesting, there's a whole branch of the law that the originalists, that their whole philosophy is that you're supposed to make these decisions about the Constitution based on what the framers in 1770, whatever.
Right, which is the stupidest freaking thing I've ever.
But how many of them are called? I know Clarence Thomas, I believe. I think Scalia.
You understand, those people didn't even know that dinosaurs ever walked the planet. The discovery of dinosaur fossils came well after the writing of our Constitution.
No,
this is important because for those people who say these were based on these religious principles, whatever, we don't have no idea of knowing how all of the belief systems would have changed if the people who had been alive there actually knew, wait a second, we're about to have evidence coming out that we've actually been around as a planet for millions of years and that the dinosaurs were here and there were a lot of them and we found all these bones and, all your theories about what's happened in the last 6,000 years are not going to hold up. None of those founders had access to any of that information. And most of them were quite young. In 1776, I saw a thing that popped up online. We look at these big names. Alexander Hamilton, a founding father, he was 19 years old.
That's
crazy.
19. And probably died at 40?
He was 47 when he died, and of course, it was in a duel. So
was he that old?
Yeah, by the time the duel happened,
he only had a few years left anyway.
No, most of the other founders did okay. I mean, John Adams.
60?
No, John Adams made it to 89. He was
the
oldest president all the way up until Gerald Ford, and then Reagan passed him, and then Jimmy Carter passed him.
89 was very unusual for that.
It was. Didn't Robert Redford just die?
Died of 89. Him and John Adams, the two of them at 89. But my point is, look up those guys. All those guys whose names have become like legend.
Right.
That wrote that stuff, they were kids.
And yet,
that's amazing that he was that young.
How many Supreme Court justices have been guided by the principle that it's very hard. These lines are very difficult, and they really probably don't make a whole lot logically sense for one or the other.
They don't. And here's the thing. And this is my education as I've evolved, because I'm a centrist. I really am. I'm very much in the middle, maybe a little left of the middle, but for the most part, I'm a gray thinker. I live in the gray. I see subtlety in everything. I see arguments on both sides. I find that the people on the extreme on both sides are very black and white in their thinking. They do not have the ability to see the gray on either side. And therefore, I don't know how you ever bring those people to the fold. I think if we're ever going to succeed ultimately, those people, the proud people in the middle, the proud people that can see the good points on both sides, the gray, the subtlety, that could admit that, this isn't really that easy. And anybody who wants to label anything as common sense is trying to sell you a bill of goods. There's nothing common about the sense involved in analyzing these things. It takes sophisticated analysis. It takes debate. And it has to be done by the middle. And who do we have? That's the problem. Neither side has good, strong voices that represent the middle.
You know why? Because it's become so difficult, the political process, that people with that, I mean, think
it's
about
it. It's not because people want to sell tickets. They want to sell tickets, and it's like the WWE. We have baby faces and heels. Nobody's in the middle because the middle's considered boring. But we better be comfortable with boring if we're going to solve our problems.
But I think that if there was a political party that was aimed at truly working on the problems that affect everyday people. And I know during political campaigns, they talk about some of the issues, but when it comes to implementing them once they're in office, those don't happen. But if there was really a political party that aimed to ask the people, what are the greatest needs of the citizenry, right? Not the richest. I would just take out the richest, because you want to include the most impoverished and really the bottom 90% of the country. What are the greatest needs facing everyday Americans? And working on a handful of those issues, forgetting about the divisive issues, because I think there are so many really important issues, things that affect people on a day-to-day basis that could change people's lives for the better and change the country for the better. Those never get worked on. I think if a centrist party worked on things that actually helped everyday Americans, not help people stay in power, not help people raise money, I think we could be a much better country, but we are too stupid as a people to get together and say, hey, we're not going to let these people manipulate us and divide us. That will never happen.
We live in an age of billionaires. In an age of billionaires, the billionaires run the show. They have all the money. If a party like you're talking about would be, I mean,
you would need billionaires.
You would need your billionaires, and again, billionaires even have limits. You've never seen a billionaire that gives away so much money that at the end of the day he's not a billionaire. These people have most of them have no interest in you. They're never going to. The real problem is not education. The seminal problem in America is income inequality.
When we have
that's it.
Poverty causes
income disparity, income inequality. Everything comes from that.
When will we have a trillionaire?
That's where crime
within 2 years.
That's where crime comes from. Yeah. That's where poor education comes from.
That's the single problem our country has.
And it's just getting worse and worse and worse because these people.
Now, let me ask you this. I came up with a tax.
A lot of these people.
I came up with a tax policy that I want to run by you guys to see if you think that, and I don't have all the details worked out, but something like this. So if you want to give corporate tax breaks, for example, why not have as a qualifier, to qualify for this tax break, you have to demonstrate that your lowest earning full-time employee makes this percentage
of what the president makes,
the done right. So if, in other words, if you said that the CEO of a company could make no more than 25 times what your lowest level employee made, and if you qualified for that, then you get the massive tax break. But if you don't qualify for that, you don't get the tax break. And then those companies would have to do the math and decide, do we want to close the gap a little bit on the income disparity? In other words, it gives them financial incentive. They can run the math and say, well, we can get a 20% tax break here, but we have to bring these salaries closer together. Does that make more sense for us? Or do we want to say, no, thank you, we'll just pay the higher taxes? But either way, you could do it in a way that doesn't force it down anybody's throat. You create a mathematical dilemma.
But you're relying on the people that are benefiting from the bad system to change it. They're not.
No, you're not. You're not. No. They'll always do what's in their best interest money-wise.
Yeah,
right?
I don't actually.
That's my point.
No, I don't. No.
They will run the math.
I think that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong, because most people are so blindly loyal to the politicians that are manipulating them that they will be told this is a scam, it is a trick,
of course.
The math doesn't work,
that's why
and
they
will
against their
believe
own...
it. But that's why I don't believe in.
But see, that's the beauty of it. Because think through what I'm telling you here.
No, I hear what you're saying.
The company gets to choose.
Yeah.
So if you create the math to where you're like, listen, you're either going to be up paying a 45% tax bracket or however high we want to put it, or it could be a 25% tax break. Then it just becomes math. Then it's math.
I get it.
And if they don't want the tax break, great. Then the government gets to keep 45% of their money and have plenty of revenue.
The simplest of things cannot be trusted in the world we live in because people make it into something. It's like, this is why I don't believe in boycotts. Because if you're not boycotting Amazon, don't bother boycotting any other things. When you have 50 Amazon packages coming to your house a week, don't boycott Wendy's, because Amazon, you have Jeff Bezos, who's a billionaire, probably going to be a trillionaire at some point. And yet, what percentage of the people who work at Amazon are on some form of public assistance? His billionaire and soon-to-be trillionaire status is being supplemented by you and
that's
you
another
and
part
you
of my
and you.
tax policy, because when it comes to healthcare, same thing. You say to a companies that provide health insurance coverage for X percentage of their employees will get this tax break. But if you don't, you don't get the tax breaks. In other words, we're giving out tax breaks across the board. Those tax breaks need to be tethered to meeting criteria, and that criteria needs to be providing health care and income
We've got to do something.
I would like to see the numbers about what that means to the people. How does the wealth of the corporation?
Oh, Tara wants to get into the data room, huh? You're gonna.
Well, the beauty of it is, it forces the corporation. There's only two courses they could take, Terry. They could either pay their people more. And that helps those people live a better life. Or they can pay the government more, and the government hopefully takes that money and is able to fund for health care and fund for education and police and military and all the other things that we get from our tax dollars.
But we don't get.
We do. Listen,
I'm saying
we get a great deal for our taxes.
I would like to see.
I don't think it gets said enough.
Actually,
It doesn't get said enough. But let's not gloss over the fact we get tremendous value for our tax dollars. You look at what the average American pays a year in taxes and what they get in terms of free public school, in a police that will come for anything they need, a fire department that'll be there in an instant, first responders across the board, a military that will protect them, a National Guard that will come in and help in situations that require them.
When the president wants
is the National Guard coming into St. Louis?
I'll mention that in a second. But my point is, the roads that we drive on, the bridges that we cross, the safe meat that we eat, the clean water that we drink, for what most Americans pay in taxes, they are getting an unbelievable bargain for their tax dollar.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know that.
Well, you could, Andy, what does the average American family pay a year in income taxes?
I don't know.
To the federal government.
Look it up.
The average.
But look at our
20,000.
Let me say something. Hold on. I wanted to make this point.
The roads are terrible.
I wanted to say this about taxes. Here's what I think is ridiculous. You hear this talk of states that eliminate state tax, right? And people move there. Oftentimes, those are red states. And then you hear the economics of the federal government in terms of California, which is a massive state, and the amount that California contributes to the tax basis. I don't see how a state can take all this federal money, especially when they're not contributing a ton of it. It's crazy to me that that's even an option, that the federal government doesn't say, no, you have to collect state tax.
Exactly.
Or
I agree
100%. We're going to take away whatever.
Championing this cause. Take, for example, Florida. Florida doesn't have state income tax, but they're a donor state. They, because of Disney and tourism, they pay more money into the federal government than what they receive back. So if they don't have state income tax, great for them.
That's
great system. However, Texas doesn't have state income tax. However, they're a welfare state. They receive way more in federal money than what they pay in federal money.
You should lose federal dollars.
What should happen is that shortfall should then become the basis for your state taxes. If you have a shortfall in your budget of $200 billion, then you have to calculate what rate do we need to charge for state income tax.
But it's all...
but nobody, too many votes.
Because you know why?
There's no votes. No votes required.
They're not going to change that.
You know what it goes back to? It's
why don't they change it then?
It's the moral imperative. It's the Kantian moral imperative. It's what we have gotten to a society where everybody is doing the wrong thing, and we're seeing the cumulative effect of that by people not being upstanding members of society whose decisions are based on only themselves or what they think is best for themselves, and not thinking of the greater good which in turn hurts them as well. I mean, a lot of it leads to explosion in crime, and that impacts everybody. It's a mess. I think we've said it all, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had a couple topics,
and I will say this: I think that it was a worthwhile discussion.
Yeah.
It wasn't incendiary. It wasn't pointing fingers or blaming anybody.
Get some numbers.
We'll run the numbers next time.
They could run those numbers.
Yeah,
and I would wonder what it would change in terms of where the wealth goes.
If only we were running this country.
Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes when you think about it, if you're a decent guy who really, maybe it wouldn't, that old feeling that, oh my God, these are supermen. We could never do it.
Oh, well, I've never felt that.
No,
way.
I would be a great president.
I know.
I mean, there was a time when you had great men and women in government, and you thought, well, these are.
There's no question I would be a great president.
But I would take any of you over what we got.
Don't want the job, though.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
When you get people that are actually like normal and bright, they're also smart enough to not want that job.
But you do it.
If my nation called upon me to do it, I would do it.
You know what? 20 years ago,
I wouldn't seek it.
I don't know. It's such a mess right now. I don't know that I would do that to myself.
Nice thing, if I was president, the best thing would be that the taxpayers would never look at any of my habits and say, I can't believe he's doing that on taxpayer dollar. I do nothing that costs any money whatsoever.
That's
right. All of these golf things with security.
All he wants is
never
free
be on a
Netflix.
golf
Would Andy and I have to pay taxes?
Yes. Well, yeah,
Why?
Listen, I'm not giving anybody free.
So
I'm not playing
benefit?
favorites. There are benefits. You can hang out at the White House.
That's right.
I'll let Andy stay in the Lincoln bedroom.
What about me? What do I?
I heard about the thing with the Theragun. I don't need a bunch of black stains all over Lincoln's bed.
How about this? If you promise to buy a name brand Theragun, you can stay in the Lincoln bedroom.
What are you calling it? A percussion?
I think it's a
massage?
percussive massage.
I've never even heard that word. It never does.
Listen, it's a thumper.
Whatever. All
Have
right.
you heard that?
Well,
thanks
this
for
was
tuning
great.
in, folks. We will see you next week when we'll be featuring
Mom's
good
Deli.
things. Mom's Deli, great sandwiches. Congratulations on the new location.
and go to
Everybody,
Mom's.
check them out.
And go out to that kolache guy by Tim.
Yeah, down in Arnold, St.
Yeah.
Louis Kolache. Get the sloppy Joe.
All right.